Now, when I had talked to Dennis Bianchi, months and months and months ago about this lunch, I warned him. I said, at the very beginning, there's a good possibility that everybody's good friend, Gene Crane, who is, let's put it this way, I'm 68 years old. The day I was born, Gene Crane was on the air at WCAU radio. I don't know if he rode in the blue or the green dinosaur. We're not sure. He can't quite remember, but it was one of those. But Gene lives in Mexico, not New Mexico, Mexico, okay? And doesn't get back to Philadelphia that often. And I said, if he gets back, by the way, he'll be 95 in a couple days. So I warned Dennis we're going to do a little thing with Gene. And of course, Dennis and Gene work together over at WCAU TV anyhow. But I'm going to bring up Marian Lockhart Egan, who's a former president, former chairman of the board of the organization, to do a little something with Gene. At the piano, you might recognize the guy. His name is Michael Stairs. He is the organist for the Philadelphia Orchestra. Of course, he's not at the piano yet. Marian. By the way, while we're waiting for Marian to come up, we have about 518 members on Broadcast Pioneers. We would love to have the membership grow. Most organizations like this decline in membership. 9 years ago, we had 157 members. Today, it's more than triple in size. We would like to see it continue to grow. This past year, we gave $21,000 scholarships to college students. We already have commitments for 18 scholarships for next year, and there will be more. We do career nights at college universities. We do college student symposiums. We have our annual banquet. We maintain our archive project. We videotape, well, nobody videotapes anymore, right, Brad? Brad's back there. Brad's one of our vice presidents. He owns a production company, and we do oral history video of basically legends in the Philadelphia market. And this is all part of what Broadcast Pioneers does. Marian's now at the microphone. Marian.
Easier and decided to do it differently, and I'm not coming up to the podium. I'm going to do everything from right here. Today I have the privilege of leading a salute to a true pioneer of our industry, Gene Crane. Yes. An article in the Daily News in 1992 called Gene an institution. He's also been called a legend. And after reading his bio, I agree that you deserve both of those terms. And I'd just like to touch on a few highlights of Gene's career that some of you will not know. Gene began his career as a radio announcer back when he was still in college at Syracuse University. And that was in 1941. In 1946, he moved to Philadelphia, where he continued in radio on both WCAU and WIP, but not at the same time. In 1948, when WCAU went on the air, Gene moved over to television. And while working at WCAU, he performed a variety of on-the-air duties. Among them, he hosted adult talk shows, children's programs. And since at that time, shows originating in Philadelphia were being fed to New York for the network to use them, Gene soon became a nationally known personality. And in addition to his work at WCAU, I think he was very busy, don't you? He did commercials for many years. He was a spokesperson for Acme. He even got into the movies, playing the role of Mayor of Philadelphia for Rocky III. When Gene retired from WCAU in April of 1994, he had been working a half-century at WCAU. That's quite a record. Gene was inducted into the Broadcast Pioneer Hall of Fame in 1995. He was our Person of the Year in 2003. Gene, we are honored to have you with us today. And we also know that you have a 95th birthday coming up later this month. And we want to be the first to toast you on that occasion. With the help of my dear friend Michael Stairs, who's going to accompany us, we're going to sing For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. And I want you all to join in. I don't really want to be doing a solo.
By the way, we couldn't sing Happy Birthday because, believe it or not, it's a copyrighted song. But For He's a Jolly Good Fellow, you always wonder, why are they singing this in that movie? That's so they don't have to pay royalties. But anyhow, Gene Crane, all the way from Mexico.
Thank you. First, that's the shortest I've ever heard him talk in all the years I've been talking with him. Thank you, kiddo. Thank you, thank you. And I have to say, you've left me, where is she? You've left me nothing to say, because you just did the whole story. But first, I thank you for being with me, or permitting me to be with you, to serve this on this fairly important occasion. It really is. A couple of things. I cannot help but look around, and you can't, but I can see a lot of empty chairs. I shouldn't have done this. Sorry, not very professional. All the people with whom I have served and who were dear friends over the years, and so many of them gone. That's one of the disadvantages of old age. You lose so many friends and family members, and that's. However, the alternative sucks. I have thought. Now listen. I asked. What's your name? I asked Jerry, how much do you want? 3 minutes? 30 minutes? I'll give you 3 hours if you need them. You know, after 63 years, incidentally, it's a total of 63 years since the very first time I went on the air in Jamestown, New York. And he said 5 minutes. Well, I'm ahead then, because I've been rehearsing my ad-libs for some time, and it'll be about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. The other thing, you know, I look around and I say, first of all, I come about every 3-4 years. I'm seeing a great many more gray heads. Welcome to my class, guys, ladies. Welcome. But then I look and I say, wait a minute, there are some bright and shining 40-year-old, 45-year-old. How can you be a pioneer if the industry is 100 years old and you're only 45? I mean, how's that work out? Even I missed that. I wasn't really a pioneer. Well, when it happened, I was 5 years old. And Cousin Joe, he was the older cousin of our family. And he had a crystal set. And if you remember crystal, no, you're not old enough. Couldn't be. This was 1929, 1930. And it was a little thing, I'm not even sure I remember, where he had what they called a cat's whisker. And you would slide the cat's whisker across, I guess, some kind of incidentally, I spent a year in the Signal Corps. The only thing I remember is on, off. That's it. So I'm not sure what the hell they were doing, but that was, about 1929, 1930. And the progress was so enormously fast with giants like Sarnoff for RCA and NBC and Bill Paley for CBS. And the stations were springing up like crazy. I'll bet not many of you know. Do you know that all radio stations west of the Mississippi start with a K? And all east, with a few exceptions, of course, one of them right here in Philadelphia, start with a W. And it grew so quickly, and I was very lucky, not in Syracuse, but in Jamestown, New York. The only thing really famous about it is that Lucille Ball was born there. But I was lucky enough, I'm still a college kid. Between my junior and senior years, I had a 3.5-month summer relief job at Jamestown, New York, which qualified me by the time I went back for my senior year to get a job at a station in Philadelphia, all during my senior year. They were both blue stations. What? What's a blue station? NBC in the beginning had 2 networks, NBC Red, NBC Blue. And you were wondering what I was going to do. I'm making it up as I go along. Of course, I was just going to do my whole history, you know. And NBC Red and NBC Blue. And the FCC said you can't do it. They had to divest themselves of Blue. And both my Jamestown job and my Syracuse job were the Blue stations, which very quickly became ABC, our 3rd network. There was a brief, I worked for Syracuse for about, for a year, all during that senior year. There was a brief interruption of about 4 years, just about 4 years. I was very lucky. I was among the 15 million who was never wounded, never shot at. I was never fired at anybody angrily myself, you know. But at the end of the war, I was with the 25th Infantry Division in the Philippines, practicing for training for the invasion of Japan. Thank you, Harry Truman, for dropping the drum. I'd probably be dead. I'm deadly serious. I really mean it. I don't think we could have made that. It would have been just horrifying. Would have made everything before that just look like child's play. So we got to Nagoya in Japan, and that night I was called down to General Headquarters and said, Crane, you are the officer in charge of an armed forces radio station. So I'm back in business. And I had 8 years of the most wonderful Army occupation business, because my guys did all the work, and I just floated around from Tokyo to Yokohama to Osaka and made sure they were doing their job. Very quickly, went to New York. I auditioned everywhere. You name it, I auditioned for it. And the next idea was, what's the closest city? Philadelphia. Sent out a letter to every station and 12 days later got a response from a guy named Stanley Broza. Stanley was best known, of course, as the MC of the Horn and Hardart Children's Hour. And see, now the older guys are nodding their heads, and the rest of you, the young people, what the hell is he talking about? What's a children's hour? Yeah. But he was also our program manager, and I do remember, Dick, you'd probably remember, if I could, the name of the guy, the engineer. And I look up and I'm reading my copy, and the two of them are chatting. They're not even listening. But I came out and he said, okay. It was a Tuesday. On Sunday, I moved into a rooming house on 16th Street. And on Monday, I started at 525 with WCAU. And the rest is history. Well, the real history occurs 2 years later when I moved over into television. And it was just a fantastic, a wonderful, wonderful career. I just got the message. You didn't look at your watch once. But you're right, kiddo. I just timed that in my head. I was pretty good at that. I think I did about 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Thank you again. Oh, one more thing. I want you all to take very good care of yourselves. Be careful crossing the street. Don't get sick. Don't fall down. Because in 5 years, I'm going to be back here for my 100th birthday, and I want you all here. Thank you. God bless you. I love you.